Christina here. Welcome to my channel. Thank you for taking some time out of your day to spend it here with me. I almost did not make this video. I was feeling very defeated. Last week was a very difficult week health-wise. The kidney stones are just the beginning of some of the health issues that I have, but I decided to get up, wash my face, and to put this video together because I feel like there's gonna be somebody, even if it's just one person out there, that's gonna benefit from this message. Today, what I wanted to talk about is my relationship with money, how it's changed since I became a single mother, and then also kind of give you guys some steps to create a budget, which I think is the #1 tool to get yourself financially stable. If you don't tell your money where it's going, you are going to continue in debt, or you're going to get into debt, or you're not gonna be able to save up and reach some of those goals that you may have. Before becoming a single mother, I was very indifferent when it came to money. It wasn't really something that I thought about too much. I always had just enough for what I needed and I was content. But then when I became a single mother and I had a huge mountain of debt, I was in a part-time position and I had to find a rental home, and rental houses right now are just ridiculously expensive. So I found myself in this position where I really had to think about money. I had to think about how much was coming in, and I had to think about how much I needed for the 3 girls that I had. That's really when I started to think about what can I do so that I can survive with my 3 girls, so I would have enough, to feed them, to keep a roof over our head, and for anything extra that we had to take care of, especially with the health issues that my middle daughter has. So I had always been kind of a Dave Ramsey fan, but once I was in this position where I really needed to find a solution, I dove deeper into Dave Ramsey. I dove deeper into the baby steps, and I really sat down and put a budget together. One thing that really helped me when I became a single mother is the stimulus checks that were coming. I remember one month when the rent was gonna come due and I was $330 short. I was just trying to figure out where that money was gonna come from. And so another thing that I want to mention is prayer. And so I just remember praying and praying, where am I going to get this money to pay my rent? Because my landlord was not having it where I was going to be paying him late. So thankfully that week where I needed to pay the rent, we got one of the checks from North Carolina for the students for school, and I got that check, and it was exactly, I'm pretty sure it was $330, which is exactly what I was short. So God was definitely with us, that year, and He's always with me, and He's always with us, and He never fails us, and I've been able to make it through thanks to Him, and thanks to listening to Dave Ramsey, and thanks to taking my finances very seriously. So like I said, when I first got separated, I had a part-time position. I had just gotten that position probably 4 or 5 months before getting separated, and I thought it was such a wonderful thing because I was going to be able to spend more time at home with the girls and still be able to continue, growing my career. But then there I was, separated with only a part-time position, and I didn't know what I was gonna do. I mean, it was just like everywhere I turned, there was a hurdle. So that was another hurdle there. And thankfully, like I've said before, I have such a great boss, and I don't know if she did this to help me with the financial situation that I was in, or if this was already something that she had planned to propose to me, or if it was just divine intervention, just God there watching my back again. But she offered me a full-time position, and then I became, a full-time employee, and at least my shovel then became a little bit bigger, and it probably became, just what we needed at that time to cover our expenses. So like I said, getting a budget together, I think, is the #1 thing that you need to do if you want to get out of the financial situation that you're in, whether it is getting out of debt, saving up for a home, or saving for your retirement or your children's college education. So I'm going to share with you the steps that I took to create my budget. And like I said, I'm a big Dave Ramsey follower, and so I was following the baby steps throughout this. So what I did to begin my budget was to take a look back about 2 or 3 months and see how much I was spending a month, and to see what I could cut out, what was an unnecessary expense, and what was something that, or what were some things that we could negotiate. I obviously cut out anything that was unnecessary, that I knew we could do without. It was not necessary at the time. It was not a need, it was a want. So I cut that down. And then I also made a list of all the debts that I had. And like I said, when I got separated, I had a mountain of debts. The credit card that I had that was maxed out, it was about $15,000, I think. The interest rate was 22%. And I mean, I was never gonna be able to pay that off the way it was. So thankfully, COVID really helped me a lot in this situation between the stimulus checks that we received. And then I also called the credit card company and asked them if I could negotiate the interest rate that I had. And they had just began a program where they were lowering the interest rate. And they actually lowered my interest rate from 22% to 6%, which was a huge help. It was a huge help. I mean, before they negotiated that, I think I was making the minimum payment of $500 a month, and it was going up about $450 a month. So I was not making a dent, and I was not going to make a dent that way. So once you cut out any of your unnecessary expenses, and once you negotiate anything that you can negotiate, we're going to continue writing everything that is a necessary expense. And you want to make sure to include your food and your gas. And I guarantee, if you haven't done this before and you just guesstimate how much you spend on food a month, I guarantee it's probably twice as much. Everybody thinks that they spend so much on food, but when you actually write it down and see where your money is going for food, it adds up to a lot very quickly. So make sure that you add those expenses that sometimes you think they may be very minimal. They're gonna add up to a lot. Write it down, include it in your budget. On another side, you're gonna write down your debts from smallest to largest, and that's the way that we're gonna pay it off. We're not gonna pay attention to the interest rate. This is something that I learned from Dave Ramsey, and he says that this works because it's like a mental, when you pay off a small debt, you just get so excited and it builds momentum and it keeps you going and it keeps you motivated. If you're gonna focus on the interest rate, even if that debt's the largest debt, it's gonna take you longer to pay it off. You're not gonna have that motivation, that drive that's gonna keep you going when you see, you get that bill in the mail where it says, zero due, paid balance in full. It's just so exciting when you see that. It makes you want to keep going. It feels like this is something that I can do. And sometimes when you start off with something very large, it's very hard to stay motivated. It's very easy to get discouraged. On the other side of this piece of paper, or if you're doing this on the computer, you're gonna write your income. And then what we're gonna do, you're gonna add up what your monthly expenses are, and you're gonna add up what your income is, and we're gonna do the math. Do you make enough to cover your monthly expenses? Do you make enough to cover those minimum payments that are due at the end of the month? And if you don't, you need a bigger shovel. You're gonna have to think of some kind of side hustle or something that you can do to make a little bit of extra money so that you could cover those monthly expenses and hopefully make enough to start paying down that debt. And we also want to make sure we do not accrue any additional debt in this time that we're working on this. The first step that we're going to do is we want to save our emergency fund. We're going to start out with a $1,000 emergency fund. And I've seen a lot of anti-Dave people that say that this is an unnecessary step, but I don't think it is. And I think Dave doing this for 25 plus years and successfully helping a lot of people, including myself, to get out of debt and to get in a very good financial situation is proof that this works. So you save your $1,000 because emergencies will happen. Things are going to happen in that time, and you don't want to have to get another credit card to pay that off. You're going to have your $1,000 there so that you could use that to pay off all of these surprise expenses that are going to happen, because they're inevitable, especially when you have children, especially during a pandemic. So just make sure you save that $1,000 first before you start paying off any of the debt. You're going to continue doing your minimum payments, but we're not going to focus on paying those off until we get those $1,000. If you don't think you have enough extra at the end of the month, then we just want to continue. Then we want to make sure that we are making our shovel bigger so that we can start, following these steps. Once you have your $1,000 saved up, then we're going to start paying off those debts from smallest to largest. Once you pay off the smallest debt, then whatever was the minimum payment for that, you're going to roll that in to the second debt. So let's say you had a credit card that you owed $100 on and your monthly payment was $20 for that. Once you finish off paying that $100 debt with the $20 a month, you're gonna move on to the next debt, which let's say it's $300, but the monthly payment is $50. So you're gonna pay those $50 plus the $20 from the debt that you've already paid off, and that's $70 that's gonna go towards that second debt until you pay it off. And that's the snowball. It keeps building up and building up. And that's something that it took me a while to understand why it was called the snowball method. You don't just pay off your first debt and now you have an extra $20 to spend a month. So no matter how high your mountain is, you can do this. Just follow the steps, just stay motivated. Remember what your ultimate goal is. Remember what your why is. If you like these finance type videos, let me know. Let me know if you have any other questions or any suggestions for me about, anything that I could do differently. So as of right now, I am debt-free, and I've been debt-free for at least a year now. And I have my 3-month emergency fund, and now I'm saving up for something big that I have been dreaming about doing. So that's where I am right now. And I hope to continue going on and fulfilling my dreams. I'm using my bakery income also to help me, get there faster. That was how I made my shovel a little bit bigger also. So thanks for watching. Bye. And don't forget to leave me a comment, and subscribe to the channel, and continue giving me ideas of what you would like me to talk about. I hope that this has been helpful to somebody out there.